The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by Continental Energy Solutions. I'm Tim Montague, your co-host. Today on the Clean Power Hour, setting solar panels on fire on purpose, shooting solar panels into space. Hey, we love space-based solar. Sonnen launches low-priced resi battery, and Invenergy announces the nation's largest solar power plant. Welcome to my co-host, John Weaver, commercial solar guy.
Hey, Tim, how are you today? How's your week been going?
You didn't call me Timothy this time. What's up with that?
I don't know. You know what? I love saying people's long names. It makes me feel cultured. So I'm sorry. Maybe I was like cool and relaxed because, upcoming, relaxing. I'm going to drive around and camp for the next couple of days and just enjoy myself. So I think I'm already on vacation. Hey, wait, let me drink my coffee, be calm, nice.
Yeah,
Okay. Timothy, how are you?
It's the Thanksgiving holiday is upon us. Looking forward to a few days off. And I'm going to be installing solar panels on my RV over the weekend. So I'm excited for that. I got some 200-watt
Cool.
modules and they're going to go flat on the roof. I was wanting to design a high-tech solar awning that would rotate off the side of the RV, but I gave up on that. Too complicated. I'm just going traditional flat, screw them into the roof.
That's pretty neat. I bought a hiking solar panel kit from the story was on PV Magazine the past couple of days, and it's a little French group who bought SunPower solar cells, and they have like 3 or 4 of them in a little flap out unit, and so that's to throw on the back of my backpack. And they say they've upped the quality of it, and they think it's a better slow drip charge than prior units, which have always gotten negative pushback. So it's an experiment. So we're both buying cool gear. So I like the van idea. You could put some panels on the side too, and then just always park that side toward the sun, and you could make you sort of kind of the single axis tracker. It's the human single axis solar tracker. I don't know how efficient that'll be in the long game, but conceptually.
Yeah, there's all kinds of goofy things I could do, but I don't know if I will. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well,
looking forward to solarizing the solar coaster, as she is called. Well, hey, we got a lot of good. What were you saying?
I was about to ask if these are 12 or 24 volt panels that are pumping juice straight through a charge controller into a battery pack.
Yes, these are 24 volt modules. I'm probably going to connect them in series and parallel. So the charge controller will do the mathematics and the heavy lifting. The charge controller's beefy. I got a 60 amp charge controller. It's like a computer. And
is that the Midnight Solar? Is that Midnight Solar or is it Morningstar?
I went with Renergy, which is
is
an American company out of California. And
nice.
Victron was the nearest competitor. Victron is a Dutch company, I think. They're big into mobile photovoltaics and off-grid too, but the Renergy was a little more cost-effective, so we'll see. It's my petri dish, I call it.
All right. I'm surprised. Midnight Solar or Morningstar. For me, that's where the old classics that I always bought. So, oh wow. All right. Yeah. I guess we're doing a story. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's get into the news. Here we are at your website, Commercial Solar Guy. Utility scale solar electricity pricing fell 17%. Wow, that's a big number, John. What's going on?
So this story is a summary, an explanation of the Berkeley Labs annual solar update. If you scroll down a little bit, there's some links to these visualization tools. They looked at all the solar projects that are above 5 megawatts and did some math. That chart right there is an amazing chart. That's starting around 2006, late 2006, it does every PPA for a large project in the United States, and this shows the progression of pricing over time. You can even see the Hawaii solar plus storage, those dark circles that are up near the top as we get to the end in the most recent years. Those are big batteries, solar plus storage systems. But these are all the utility scale pricing power purchase agreements, 15, 20, 35-year agreements between utilities and companies like NextEra, 8-Minute Energy, 8-Minute Solar Energy, the people that build the big projects. And this report is beautiful. Like, if you wanted to just learn a bunch of stuff about utility scale solar, pricing, hardware, history, patterns, development, there's so much information in this report. They have beautiful visualizations. Okay, that's actually a really important chart. So first off, the Berkeley lab people did amazing work. Whoever wrote this knows a bunch of stuff, and there's a lot of value that you can glean from there if you wanted to become a developer. But speaking of being a developer, that chart, sir, is huge because it shows hundreds of gigawatts of capacity coming in the interconnection queues across the United States. I think 480. And that should give guys like you and I a touch of job security, at least to know that we're swinging at the right field, we're swinging in the right industry. And so, that report's cool. Price of utility scale still coming down. We're adding batteries, and the price is still coming down. The industry's growing, and we got 20-year runway. So there you go. Maybe 10, 15 years. We'll see.
Yep.
A lot of
So
capacity.
I think you can find that report if you just Google BNEL and utility solar report.
Yeah. I mean, check out the visualizations. They do a really nice breakdown of every single state, the amount of electricity they generate per source, and specifically on photovoltaic, they show you total solar and then solar just from utility scale. So that gives you a feel of the behind the meter solar. And for instance, Massachusetts, I think, is at 16-17% of its electricity coming from solar power, but only 6-ish is from utility scale solar. So 10% of Massachusetts electricity is behind the meter solar power. I'm part of that. So I feel really proud of that number, and I think that's a cool number. And so I just wanted to point that out. Go Massachusetts.
I have a question. Looking at that bar chart, generation capacity in 37 selected interconnection queues, and it has these hashed sections for projects that are paired with storage. Why are developers pairing solar with storage more than wind? Do you know?
Yeah. So solar is more predictable. And so the revenues from the solar are more, or from the storage are more predictable. Wind doesn't have this great big peak. And, solar is just getting going. So, plus it's the markets, or solar plus storage is just getting going. Wind plus storage isn't there just yet. But it also has to do with that big giant daytime peak when solar clumps out huge volumes, floods the grid, drives the requirement of shifting that electricity. And a whole bunch of that solar is California. Solar plus storage is California. So it has to do with grid dynamics, where that solar is being deployed, has to do with that big daytime bump that comes with solar versus wind, which is a smoother, generally more consistent number, different times of the day, so there are a few dynamics. So solar plus storage will come first due to the very high level of predictability of solar. It's intermittent, but we know exactly when it's intermittent. I mean, the sun coming up is something we know better than most anything else. So,
yeah, and for the most part, we even know when it's going to be cloudy. I don't know how good the wind predictions are versus the cloud predictions, but I do like the complementarity of wind and solar. And you see that here in the Midwest, where in the winter, the wind blows more. And in the summer, of course, the sun shines more. So wind and solar are a nice pairing. Well, let's move on to another big story, which is the Invenergy story. Invenergy is a well-known wind and solar developer, historically more wind, but now getting big into solar. A developer based in Chicago, so go Illinois, and they have announced that this 1.3 gigawatt AC, as you pointed out, 1.7 gigawatt DC project is now under construction in Texas. It spans 3 counties. This is 3.4 million 500-watt solar panels. This is just an incredible amount of solar. And I'm so happy to see megawatt scale projects happening in the US now. Gigawatt scale. There's a
Gigawatt.
picture
Yes.
of the project. It boggles the mind. I don't know how many acres the project is. Maybe that's somewhere here. I'll keep looking while we're talking about this. But it's called Samson Solar, SAMSON. They have a number of very large off takers, okay, including AT&T with 500 megawatts of capacity, Honda with 200 megawatts, McDonald's with 160 megawatts, and then several towns. Google got in the game with 100 megawatts. I mean, a 100 megawatt
I
solar
love it.
project is a big solar project, John.
Yeah, exactly. And this project has like 7 big solar projects in it.
So,
Well, so
yes.
I went into the ERCOT queue and I looked these projects up, and they are literally, there's 5 or 6 unique interconnections around this little area, and they're all of that size, and they actually total about 1.45 or 1.46 gigawatts. So there might be another PPA that comes out of this announcement at some point. Let's watch. And you look at the amounts of money that are going to go to the local jurisdictions, the schools, I mean, it's like hundreds of millions of dollars will go locally from these Texas solar projects. And the size of this project, this is the second gigawatt project that I'm conscious of. The first was by Capital Dynamics is the owner. Who's the developer? I can't remember the developer. Very well could be Invenergy, but it's a Nevada project that was just announced, and Envenergy is going to be the off taker of it. And that was a gigawatt. That was the first gigawatt project I'd seen announced. And now we got 2 of them. This project is actually more of a solar park. So it's multiple individual unique projects that are at the same location and probably going to be built at the same time. But it's more of a park than it is a single solar farm. So in India, I read about a 5 gigawatt solar park that was like 10, 15 different companies all in the same area, sharing interconnection resources, just doing things really, to minimize project costs. So I guess this is more of a park versus a single project. So I don't know if we want to mess around with that, but whatever. It's a big giant project. Pretty cool.
And then there's a 10 or 20 gigawatt project that's been announced in Australia, right? That one that's going to feed power to Singapore. Isn't that
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
10 gig?
There's 2 big projects in Australia, and I mix them up. One of them is to generate hydrogen or ammonia to ship it to industry partners. The other one is to go straight to Singapore. That one's like 10 gigs of solar, or it's aiming for 26 gigs of capacity, wind plus solar, and then like 10 or 20 gigs of batteries. So I mean, it's aiming to be Australia has given it what they call major project status. So yeah, it's a major project. So this is in that class of gigawatt plus projects. There aren't too many. There's 1 or 2 in the Middle East. There's of course a couple in China, India, Australia. Those are the gigawatt plus projects in the world.
As you pointed out on last week's episode 20, the US could be installing 800 gigawatts of solar by 2035 if we're going to truly clean the grid and decarbonize the economy. And that's just the solar. That doesn't include storage or wind, right? So
Yep.
truly, the gigawatt scale projects need to come, and they need to come fast. And I think that we are entering a new phase of the solar industry globally. As I was talking to Brad Mikulev in this morning. He's a O&M expert on the East Coast in North Carolina, and the the concern that I have, John, with these large growths that we are seeing in the industry is, will manufacturing keep up? I mean, I know that Elon Musk gets it and he's building these terafactories but I saw some announcements about China, and I don't have the link here, but China is also stepping on the gas, and they might be sopping up all of their own product. The majority of solar panels are made in China. So I don't know. Is that something that you're concerned about?
No. No. I've actually I like to read PV Tech a lot. Mark Osborne, he's awesome, and he's awesome because he goes deep into the manufacturing of the various subcomponents of the solar module supply chain, and then I also like to read Benchmark Materials, and I can't remember Simon's last name, but Simon, he's an expert at the energy storage development pipeline. And so these two folks have taught me that the large scale manufacturers are quite conscious of the capacity, opportunity, and needs going forward. And from announcements that I've seen, I think the volumes of capacity that could come on if the market demands it appropriately will be huge. And I'll give two examples. One, Energy Trend just put out a little bit of a headline, and they said that there could be next year a price collapse from in solar panels. They even suggested pricing getting down to 10 cents a watt for panels. How's that for a number, buddy?
That's a
Next
good
year.
number.
That's next year, dude. So that's based in, coming out of Taiwan and China for pricing. But so that's what they suggested. And they said because they're seeing a massive ramp up in volume coming, and hundreds of gigawatts of cell and wafer capacity are coming on over the next year, is the way they described it. Now, Mark Osborne at PV Tech said if the market conditions demand it. So what that tells me is we probably won't see a 10-cent panel because the market conditions might be a little bit slower, but we also might see 200 gigs of capacity come, and there'll be some maybe 15 cent, maybe 14 cent panels, because we're already at the 18, 19 cent if you're buying shipping containers from non-main name brand in China. So you're already under 20 cents. And maybe the market can scale quick enough because the market has plans and goals. And so that's on the solar side. And so, I've been watching announcements. Like you highlighted one later in the show, Trina. Trina just dropped like 10 gigs of announcements. And then so Benchmark guy, Simon. Benchmark has like 180 gigafactories in the factory manufacturing pipeline. So I like saying that there's a factory pipeline, not a pipeline within the factory of projects. No. A pipeline of factories who are going to feed pipelines of projects. And that number is in like the last time I saw an update, and he does them via Twitter and LinkedIn. Again, it's Benchmark Materials. He's the person who knows energy storage futures, I guess, the best in terms of, at least in my research. And last time I saw a little sketch of his on Twitter, he jokes about it because it's always increasing. There were like 174 global gigafactories planned through 2027-ish. And Tesla, of course, had the first terafactories. So it's the batteries have the capacity to come. The solar has the capacity to come. You know what's funny? You know what a recent issue is? Bottleneck. Here, hey, I don't know if I'm going to make you guess this one on air. So, you're going to have to go for it. Timothy, what is the most recent solar panel bottleneck that has arisen in the global supply chain? Any guesses?
I have no idea. It's not silicon.
It's not. It is glass. The price of glass has increased from about $25 per what is it? I can't remember the exact number, but it's gone from about 20 to 50. This specific value, $20 to $50. And that means it's gone from about a penny and a half per watt up to almost 3 cents per watt. for a solar panel. Price of
Mhm.
glass has
Yeah.
recently stressed. So there are smart people looking at it. They're modeling it. The Chinese government's making it a goal. The Chinese government has goals to make their annual capacity equal to the world's current annual capacity. So they're going to scale it. India's pushing it. There will be bumps. There will be momentary price increases that we'll have to watch for as professionals. But I think we have the eyes on the problem. Those who are seeking the opportunity of this, who are like, hell yeah, I'm ready to jump right now. Soon as the demand is there, bam, 5 gigs of capacity, ready to feed it. I think there's 50 people in the world who have that pull an opportunity and make it happen, and they're all itching for the chance to get that next factory in. So I'm bullish. I'm optimist on the factories being able to be built.
I'm counting on that. Well, let's move on to some high speed solar. This is from your Twitter feed.
Nice.
A very beautiful high tech solar panel. What the heck is this?
Nice. Well, technically, I don't know what the heck they were showing off there. I know the company. So first off, there was a satellite just put into space. I think it was Sunday. It was launched. Oh, there it is. It's the Sentinel-6. It's a combination between the ESA and NASA, and its purpose is to look at ocean rise. And those big black rectangles there, those are solar panels. And those solar panels are made by the company who made that same unit that you were sharing there. And that's Space Tech, GmbH. That's like LLC in Germany. And they make these panels. These are about 30% efficient, and there is a spec page I was able to share in the tweet stream there that you're scrolling through, but it doesn't get into the specific cell technology. It talks about the efficiency of the product, and it's about 30%. So it's probably a multi-junction, gallium arsenide plus a few other techs. And that little solar panel, though, I was just researching it because I like to know what solar panels get shot in the space. But that solar panel picture that was in their Twitter stream that you shared there, I just thought that was the neatest thing. Arguably, that is the world's most efficient 54 cell solar panel. It's got a frame. It's got no back sheet, so I don't know how long it'll last. But that right there could be. It's probably also the world's most expensive residential solar panel. You could throw that thing on your van, Tim.
Yes, I could.
You could
Gladly.
Yeah. Why don't we give them a call and say, hey, we need a panel. Can we get one of those for Tim's van? It might be like 10 G's. That's going to be an expensive panel, Tim.
How many watts is this solar panel? Do you know?
Okay. Well, no, we can figure it out. It's 30% efficiency. 1 square meter, it will give about 300 watts. So these are probably 5x5 cells. That's a 54 cell, so it's a little smaller than a standard 60 cell panel, 10% smaller. So, and that's like 400-ish.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 400 watt plus panel.
Yeah.
And it's probably $15 a watt just for the panel.
Yep. Yeah, space-based solar uses different technology, higher efficiency, as you mentioned, 30% efficiency. Plus, you're getting way more solar radiation with no atmosphere to go through, right? 40%, perhaps 40% more, depending on how much sunlight it's getting. If it's in the sun all the time, which it could be, or if it's rotating in some synchronous orbit where it's not in the sun all the time. But space-based solar is a growing phenomenon, and I want to cover this in a future episode. China is planning on building a space-based solar power plant just to beam back solar energy in the form of electricity, in the form of microwaves back to Earth. So that will potentially be a thing as well. We don't need it because we only need 1% of the Earth's surface to produce all of our power with solar with existing technology, but it would be cool. And there might be a reason. Maybe we maybe we need more of our land than we think we do. But
I think so. We're going to need like 60 billion people, and we're going to cover the whole planet with like, human stuff, and we'll have solar panels in space. We'll have robots that build the solar satellites in space. That's going to be how it works.
oh, for sure, got to have robots.
Robots.
All right. Well, new record low price in India, 2.7 cents, down 15% from record bid. Yeah.
Yep.
India
I
definitely has been in the news more lately. What's going on here?
No incentive. That's the one thing I want to say. That 2.7, no 30% tax credit, no magical incentive. So that's the key thing there. And India, price of credit, price of cash in India is a little more expensive than other places like the United States. It's just part of the nature. So this price is really kind of a breakthrough. This was bid by a Middle Eastern country who probably has really cheap capital, and I think it was a Saudi group. And so it was a couple of big power plants, and the third bid was also 2.01 rupees. So very very cheap electricity in India, and India is going to be the second largest market for renewables after China, of course, and they're aiming hard for it. They just said they wanted 300 gigs of renewables by 2030 in the headlines recently. So it was just that's a good price. That's a big price fall. 15% price drop in a market with no incentives at all in any way, shape, or form. So I'm very hopeful for what China and India will do for renewables in the 2020s. I mean, they're going to roll out terawatts of capacity between themselves.
Yep. Agreed. Well, it's only fitting. India is the second most populous country in the world. So, and of course, they have lots of solar radiation, being close to the equator, and lots of land. Although the density, talk about growing the population, the density of India is 9 times that of the United States. So if you think the US is crowded, try going to India. And that was truly an eye-opening experience. I went there back in, 1988. I want to say 1987. And it's really cool. It was a wonderful experience, but it's a mind bender. In Delhi, in the big city of Delhi, the streets fill up at night with people sleeping on the sidewalks. So there's a shortage of housing to an extreme. But I digress. You've got a nice story here on generation and storage capacity. Let's go to that. And this is just the chart showing, this is the KISO queue, right?
Yes. And that's by Q4 of 2021. So that's the next 4 quarters of stuff that's potentially going to get launched. And that's a lot of capacity. I mean, California's been asking for this capacity, but because they need to shift the daytime solar to the evening peak period from 5 to 10 p.m. And
yes,
so that's the batteries to do it. And if you think that's 5 gigs of capacity, that's 20 potential, anywhere from 5 to 20 gigawatt hours of actual energy that could be pumped. That's huge. I mean, and that volume, if all that volume were actually deployed, that would actually fix the issues that California said they were going to have in the evening peak. They had said they had missing 4.7 gigawatts peak of energy and needed it over 3 to 4 hours. So 4.7 times 4 hours, that's 20 gigs. That's it right there. And a little bit of efficiency and it's fixed. That's first off, that's just a huge volume,
When you say fixed, you mean the duck curve or?
Yeah, that fixes the duck curve, which is essentially this problem that Cali's having right now is the expansion of the duck curve while aggressively shutting down gas and having a little bit of slowing of the capacity being deployed of wind and to cover that evening, some import challenges, and then fundamentally not having solar plus storage yet. So you have this buildup of multiple processes occurring that are accumulating in this one key electricity use period. And that's summertime from 5 to 10 p.m. And the wind isn't blowing right because there's not a lot of wind. The imports are challenged because there's heat waves in the southeast, southwest, and there's no batteries yet. So this problem of theirs, this duck curve of theirs, is a 4-hour peak. And if they can put in 4 to 5 gigawatts of capacity for 4 hours, their duck curve challenge is going to disappear. And everybody that was screaming, duck curve, they're going to be like, oh, 2 years to fix it. Energy storage is going to eat the world, dude. The energy storage is going to get deployed so quickly that all these other big power grid people, they're thinking, it's going to be slow forever. It's going to take until 2070. They're all wrong. Energy storage is going to come out of factories like iPhones, like cars. It's going to shoot out of factories like Elon Musk's place in volumes that these oil people can't comprehend. And the oil people are just going to move to mining lithium, different materials. But you're going to put out a battery, and every battery is going to last for 20 years, 30 years, and then we're going to recycle them. So the capacity that's going to roll out is going to be so much faster than anybody thinks, and the duck curve is going to go away by 2025 if we wanted to, but we might not because we want to move slowly. But we're going to see 5 gigs of batteries hit California in the next 2-3 years.
Yep. I totally agree. Storage is going to take the world by storm, and we don't see it, but it's a tipping point. It's ice water, and that is the nature of these economic tipping points. And it's a savior. Storage is the holy grail for renewables. We need it en masse, and we're going to get it. So we got a couple more stories we got to cover in a short amount of time. So let's move on to burning solar panels in Belgium.
Come on, you like fire?
I love fire. I wouldn't be here without fire.
That's true. Good point. So have you ever seen Clearline Fusion? Do you know what Clearline Fusion is? Oh, yeah.
I had not, but I looked them up, and this is their website. It's beautiful building integrated solar panels that basically replace the roof tiles here, right? Or the shingles.
Well, it does more than that. It replaces the wood because they build a little differently in Europe. This replaces the actual plywood that attaches to the beams underneath. So this goes straight to the understructure. Yeah, so that's why they're burning it there. Oh, look, here's that picture right there. Look at that. The one that's right below that. You can see how it attaches to these little planks underneath. That's the substructure. And underneath that, the gray stuff, that's your insulation. So the back of that panel is air and then insulation. And so that's why they burn it, because it's part of the roofing material, it's part of the structure, and they want to see how it's going to react in a fire. And that's the specs. Check that out. They come together, you seal the roof material around it, and you put it in at time of construction. And so first off, I just think it's a beautiful product. It's not here. This product by Viridian isn't here in the United States yet. To the best of my knowledge, it's being pushed through UL and that burning going on there could very well be part of UL certification. But I was told in the spring of this year that in the fall of this year, we might see this product launch. And I was also told this product will be launched by Unirac. Not told, but it was press release. So Viridian and Unirac have come together, I believe, and they're going to launch this product in the United States. And it needed to get through UL testing because it's a roofing material and it had much more complex testing. They had to create tests for it because it's a new product class in the United States. Maybe not that new, because maybe it is. It reminds me of the solar roof from Tesla. It attaches directly to the infrastructure underneath it. and so
Yeah.
they're gonna have to burn it differently. They're gonna have to do it differently, and so that's something that's going on. So I just like that product. I love the fact that they set it on fire.
I mean, it's inevitable that building integrated or BIPV is going to become a mainstream thing. It's just got a few, uh, iterations to go through. It's not new. I mean, roofing manufacturers have been doing this for 10 plus years, and it ebbs and it flows. And I get the feeling like we're getting close now to a cost competitive product. Of course, that's Elon Musk's goal, is to make renewable energy truly cost effective and to inspire consumers to adopt it en masse, whether you're talking polysilicon, crystalline technology, or truly integrated roof tiles, or in this case, roof panels. I don't know what they call them, but um, yeah, it's a thing, and it's going to be a bigger thing. It's just a matter of cost for the most part, right? Because a roof is expensive
Yep.
and a solar roof is more expensive. Now, can you make it ROI? Yeah. When you look at the 20-year life of a roof, absolutely. And so, yeah, it'll be cool to see how Viridian comes to the US and who they partner with. All righty. Well, another story. This is Wall Street Journal. Interesting. Europe's biggest utility company to ramp up spending on wind, solar, and power. Hmm.
So first off, that's a lot of money coming from uh, this group, Enel. They are a big volume, big capacity, billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars. They want to add 75 gigs of capacity through like the end of the decade. And these are just large corporate clients, large corporate utilities who want a piece of that pie. We were talking earlier about whether or not the factories could scale and ramp fast enough. Well, the factories hang out with the utilities, and these groups drink together, and they say, listen, we want to get a piece of this pie. We want to feed your machine, and your machine wants to build it. What are your plans? Well, that's 75 gigs, one company. I put out a tweet earlier this morning because I was reading that article, and I brought together 4 groups. So Enel Group, 75 gigs of capacity in their pipeline. Iberdrola, that's a Spanish group, 58 gigs in their pipeline. NextEra, 45 gigs of wind, solar, and storage. And those first 2 groups, Enel and Iberdrola, those numbers I just shared, those were just capacity of wind and solar. So we got 75, 58, 45, and then 8-minute solar, another 50. So between those 3 companies, you have 200 gigs, over 200 gigs of wind, solar, storage capacity in 4 entities with a bunch of mean, hungry salespeople and some of the best engineers in the world and some of the biggest brand names and experience and connections and just the momentum. And they're going to build hundreds of gigs. And these people are talking directly with the factory manufacturers. They're working together and they're saying, okay, what do you want? What's better? Enel owns a heterojunction solar panel factory in northern Italy. I don't know if you knew that. And I am quite fond of heterojunction solar panels. So
Is the Enel that we're talking about here the same as Enel Green Power?
yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, they're a power
That's
company. They own many separate assets, separate of they've been around for a while.
that's how I know the name Enel, and they are doing large scale development here in the US. I think we covered a story about a Texas project that they're doing,
Yep. Yep.
but yeah, this is a global energy company. It's I guess analogous to NG. It's one of the largest IPPs in the world, and
And they got billions, tens of billions of dollars hanging out for solar power and wind development.
Yep. Yep. I love to see how the the wind the big wind companies are now becoming big solar companies, and
It's a record-setting wind year. They're deploying 78 gigs of wind this year globally, and that's 40% capacity factor stuff. So I mean, whew, there's just a lot of capacity that's going to get deployed, wind and solar, this year. Even in our COVID year, we're still deploying huge volumes, man.
yep. Yeah, COVID's been bad for the world and really bad for the United States, but the economy keeps on chugging. We still need grid power. We still need construction. And luckily, we work in an outdoor industry for the most part.
Yeah.
Construction is not deathly impacted by COVID. So we got a story about Sonnen here. Sonnen launches lower priced battery for home backup and grid services. You know, the thing that excites me the most about the residential storage space, John, is the possibility of a virtual power plant. And that's something that I know Tesla with their power hub is definitely planning on. Here you see a photo, though, of a solarized home and a Sonnen battery in the garage. You know, in 10 years, everybody is going to have a battery in their garage. They don't know it, they don't even think it. Most Americans don't know what a Model Y or a Powerwall is, but it's coming. The Model Y is about to be the most popular car in America. You and I aren't going to be bleeding edge anymore. Um, and Sonnen is a German-based company. They
Yep.
were acquired by Shell, which was big news in 2019. And but they are well known for going after this virtual power plant space. And as you've said, you know, with the volumes of storage that are coming, we're going to see rapid declines in the price of storage. Uh, I don't know if you have any opinions about Sonnen.
Absolutely.
It's a super high quality product. I know that.
Love
Um,
Sonnen.
my friend Jim Spano is partnered with Sonnen for rolling out a VPP in New Jersey and in PJM.
So Sonnen, in my opinion, makes the greatest, the best solar, or the best battery for advanced features for a home. Their unit is probably got the greatest smarts. You talk about the VPP. It starts with the unit first running the home. And so the Sonnen unit can 100% run your circuits in the house, and it's got smarts. If there's a potential grid issue that is being predicted by the utilities, the unit will charge more. If thunderstorms are coming in, the unit will charge more. If you have it hooked up to the right types of circuit breakers, it'll throw circuits in order to minimize electricity use. It'll manage your house. The battery is the leading edge of the home automation industry. At least that's where the home automation industry is connecting with our industry, is via the battery. And Sonnen is at the cutting edge of that. They've been doing it for 10, 15 years. I was told by a great sales rep at Sonnen that when he worked at Tesla, his goal was always to make a battery as good as Sonnen's, because the Powerwall is much younger than the Sonnen units. And so I've got great opinions on Sonnen. I love Sonnen, or I've got lots of opinions on Sonnen. They may or may not be great, who knows? But they made a good product, and I'm stoked, very, very excited to see price points coming down in residential storage, because as of yet, the majority of the pricing savings for solar power battery or for energy storage has been on the utility scale. And we've not seen the Tesla Powerwall drop in price since it was launched. In fact, it's only gone up a couple of times. It came out at a great price, but it's never gone down in price. And that's been for years now, multiple years, not like 3, 4, 5 years, whatever the number of years it was. And that's because the savings are up higher in the larger scale. And as a C&I developer, I noticed this. The medium-sized batteries, our pricing is double, triple the large utility scale stuff that I like to read about and write about in the headlines. And that's a challenge for us to make things pencil. And so, one, I'm happy to see Sonnen launch an LFP, a lithium phosphate product. That's partially why it's cheaper. 2, I'm happy to see Sonnen diversify. 3, I'm happy to see cheaper residential and all kinds of stuff. So if I were the buyer of a home energy storage system, or just to build a house, if I were to be building a house, the first thing I would buy might be a Sonnen battery to start building my whole house surrounding that one piece of hardware. So I like Sonnen.
Yep. Yeah. The battery, when it comes to being able to operate off grid, of course, the battery is the heart of the system. Solar is a wonderful thing for charging the battery, but you're SOL if you don't have a battery, right? When the grid goes down, if you only have solar, you're disconnected from the grid by code and you're not getting any power. So get a battery. Powerwall by Tesla, wonderful product. Sonnen, LG Chem, another great product. So there's no shortage of really good battery products. We better move on though, John, if we're going to hit curveless cells because we're down to the wire. And this curveless cell project or story has been lingering in our
and I want to talk about it.
All right. What is a curveless cell?
So are we going to talk about curveless, or are we going to talk about your Trina story first?
This is the curveless. Okay. No, we're skipping.
We're doing it.
You have to jump in 3 minutes, dude.
True, 3 minutes. So let's start with the default. So first off, generally they make silicon ingots, poly and mono, via these long, round, and square things. And you see pictures of them. They just look like long tubes that are shiny. And then using various tools, they cut these ingots into thin cells. And nowadays, the cutting edge technology is literally cutting edge technology is a diamond wire saw. And so by cutting a thing, you have kerf, you have leftover dust, and you go through, you cut silicon ingots. And these are kerfless. You don't cut these ingots because these people, via a vapor type of, and it's been a couple weeks because the story's been lingering. We've had so much awesome news, but these people make via a vapor deposition type of process. They print the silicon solar cells from the ground up. And they say they make 16 million layers of silicon carbon atoms. And that's the solar cell they make right there. And they just got a little more money to build some machines. And so what their goal is to build solar cells with zero silicon waste, with thinner solar cells, and thin solar cells are coming. Right now, cells are 170 micrometers, 150, up to 200 micrometers thick. They'll be going down to 50 micrometers, 30 micrometers maybe, but they'll be thinning, they'll be printed, they'll be more efficient, they'll have fewer impurities. They want to literally build solar cells from the ground up, cutting them in price by half, scaling them in size, or scaling them in speed as well. And so it's just innovation. I just wanted to talk more about innovation. There's more coming. Prices are going to get cheaper. Things are going to get faster. And these people, they just want to drop 1 or 2 machines into the already existing solar panel supply chain manufacturing hardware. So they just say, you know what? You already have your original thing, your original setup. We just want to add 2 more machines at your factory right at the front of the line. And instead of feeding in solar panels, solar cells, we'll make them. And so that's pretty cool. That's coming. There's multiple people doing curveless, and I think it has a chance of fundamentally changing how we make our solar cells. And, once again, changing the industry.
I love it. Zero waste manufacturing is so critical. And with that, let's make a few announcements. How can our listeners reach you, John, Commercial Solar Guy?
That right there. Type that into Google, Commercial Solar Guy. my name will pop up all over Twitter, LinkedIn. Go to my contact us page. We do construction. We're a general contractor. We also do consulting, and we'll help you figure out your project if you're not local to our license. And or we'll just talk to you about solar on the phone if you get lonely.
You can find me at cesnrg.com. And all of our content is here at csnrg.com/videos. You see here our collection of the Clean Power Hours. This is episode 21. And please subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and by all means, make comments. That's how we know what it is that you want us to cover here on the Clean Power Hour, brought to you every week by myself and John Weaver. So thank you, John. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you on the other side of Thanksgiving.
You too, Tim. You too.
Take care.